Welcome everybody to the Reel to Reel Wake Up movie review. I'm Dean Val. We're here with Dean, Kevin, and Tim from Grants Pass, Oregon. Today we're reviewing the movie Lawnmower Man and give a brief synopsis of the movie before we start in on it. Dr. Lawrence Angelo works for Virtual Space Industries, running experiments in increasing the intelligence of chimpanzees using drugs and virtual reality. One of the chimps escapes during the warfare tactics he was being trained for. Dr. Angelo is generally a pacifist, would rather explore the intelligence-enhancing potential of his research without applying it for military uses. His wife, Caroline, is unhappy with the way he is ignoring her to focus on this project. Yeah, I like the part where he says, to his wife, honey, I'm going through a lot. You kind of don't say that to your wife, like she's not going to go for something like that because she's going through her stuff. So just from my experience anyway. Okay, Jobe Smith, a local greenskeeper with an intellectual disability, lives in a garden shed owned by the local priest, Father Francis McKean. McKean's brother, Terry, is a local landscape gardener and employs Jobe to help him with odd jobs. See, I didn't know this. We gathered bits and pieces. I didn't know the priest was the brother of the landscape gardener. Little things keep falling into place as each of us chime in on what they see. Jobe, to help him with odd jobs. Father McKean punishes the challenged Jobe with a belt and Hail Marys whenever he fails to complete his chores. Dr. Angelo realizes he needs a human subject to work with, and he spots Jobe mowing his lawn. Peter Parquet, Dr. Angelo's younger neighbor, is friends with Jobe. Dr. Angelo invites both of them over to play some virtual reality games. Learning more about Jobe, Angelo persuades him to participate in his experiments, letting him know it will make him smarter. Jobe agrees and begins the program. Dr. Angelo makes it a point to redesign all the intelligence-boosting treatments without the aggression factors used in the chimpanzee experiments. Jobe soon becomes smarter, for example, learning Latin in only 2 hours. Meanwhile, Jobe also begins a sexual relationship with a young rich widow, Marnie. However, Jobe begins to display telepathic abilities and has hallucinations. He continues training at the lab until an accident makes Dr. Angelo shut his program down. The project director, Sebastian Timms, employed by a mysterious agency known as the Shop, where we heard that before, keeps tabs on the progress of the experiment and discreetly swaps Dr. Angelo's new medications with the old Project 5 supply, reintroducing the aggression factors into the treatment. Jobe develops telekinetic, kinetic, and pyrokinetic powers and takes Mari to the lab to make love to her while in virtual reality. Something goes wrong in the simulation when Jobe's virtual avatar becomes violent, attacking her mind directly. Marnie is driven insane, laughing endlessly at nothing. Jobe's powers continue to grow, but the treatments are also affecting his mental stability, and he decides to exact revenge on those who abused him when he was dumb. Father McKean is engulfed in flames. A bully named Jake is put into a catatonic state by a mental lawnmower man, continually mowing his brain, and a lawnmower invention of Jobe's runs down Harold. Peter's abusive father. Jobe uses his telepathic abilities to make the investigating police attribute it all to bizarre accidents in front of Dr. Angelo. Jobe believes his final stage of evolution is to become pure energy in the virtual VSI computer mainframe, and from there reach into all the systems of the world. I can't remember, we saw another movie like this too, where at the end of the movie, the fellow is everywhere. I mean, he in this case, he's in the AI or virtual reality here, ends up. He promises his birth will be signaled by every telephone on the planet ringing simultaneously. The shop sends a team to capture Jobe, but they are ineffective against his abilities, and he scatters their molecules. Jobe uses the lab equipment to enter the mainframe computer, abandoning his body to become a completely virtual being, leaving his body behind like a husk. Dr. Angelo remotely infects the VSI computer, encrypting all of the links to the outside world, trapping Jobe in the mainframe. As Jobe searches for an unencrypted network connection, Dr. Angelo primes bombs to destroy the building. Feeling responsible for what has happened to Jobe, Angelo then joins him in virtual reality to try to reason with him. Jobe overpowers and crucifies him, then continues to search for a network connection. Peter runs into the building. Jobe still cares for him and allows Dr. Angelo to go free in order to rescue Peter. Jobe forces a computer-connected security door to open, allowing Peter and Dr. Angelo to escape. Jobe escapes through a back door before the building is destroyed in multiple explosions. And lastly, back at home with Peter, Dr. Angelo and Peter's mother, Carla, who has become a romantic interest, are about to leave when their telephone rings, followed by the noise of a second, and then hundreds of telephones ring all around the globe. Okay, let's take it over to Kevin here for the next part of the program. Hi, Kevin.
The film would immediately jump into the virtual reality technology, and despite the technologies that are available for public consumption for various entertainment purposes, pretty much every technology ever developed has been at least considered as to its feasibility for military applications. Either technology developed by the dark forces or by others that then have to rather surrender it to them. Either they are paid off, blackmailed, or killed and have it stolen. What seeps into the public domain for everyday use, technology-wise, is always very outdated, despite it being seemingly newly introduced into human experience, and generally very old technology in comparison to what the world controllers actually have. But as this world is 100% a human farming planet, every system of it, and especially all the technology, is used for control purposes, and certainly not for beneficial supporting of awareness and life reasons. And really, using technology militarily for engineered wars, or commercially for entertainment purposes, really amounts to the same overall objective: to maintain the attention, the focus, the emotional reaction, the emotional attachment, and therefore the agreement of the masses to the ideas the dark forces have created, ensuring the slaves remain in creation through the cause and effect mechanics of agreement to created ideas, slaves that then perpetuate and support the dark forces and their control of a simulator that is by their controlling design, as they market the consciousness into the overall experience that the controllers desire. And any idea that doesn't support the natural environment, that doesn't make sense with life, is a distortion, and placing agreement with such distortion will effect equally as distorted an experience that spirals continuously into a further restriction that steadily worsens the overall experience situation for a creational consciousness that is so readily and unconsciously seduced by the marketing of dark force distorted ideas. All technology can be utilized beneficially to support life, but that which the dark forces create, with the controlling intent that they have, is very much black magic. And certainly, as revealed in the movie, the purposes of the virtual reality was for military applications, using animals, monkeys, to experiment on and refine their methods. Global wars certainly are instrumental in moving the dark forces' agenda for further control along, as from the conflicts they create, can they introduce more restricting measures that are agreed upon by the masses as the solutions to deal with the conflicts. Conflicts that wouldn't have taken place had the controllers not orchestrated them and played both sides to present the public with the illusion of opposing forces, and of having marketed the masses into being soldiers in these engineered conflicts that are further ensuring their own future restrictions. But the increasing physical level control as a result of the measures taken in response to conflict aside, the bigger picture is how all involved, from the military to the civilians, the attention the controllers garner to their created wars, the emotional response they can generate from them of fear, anger, etc., all are agreements to the ideas the dark forces have created, and global conflicts then, as an overall idea, will have generally global agreements to those ideas that ensure the unconscious slaves are resigned to future lifetimes, entwined with all the karma of those they were embroiled with, in even worse and more restricting positions in life, and retained under the control of, and in agreement with the dark forces still, and their designed matrix of simulation. In regards to entertainment, the unconscious masses, unaware of how creation works and the cause and effect nature of it, won't realize how, where they place their focus and attention if they are not conscious of that which enters their experience, the ideas, if they don't stand indifferent to them in objectivity, they will be the effects of everything, especially as the vast majority of the ideas that nestle into the simulator generating body vehicles are subliminal and go directly into the unseen subconscious. And so, through the movies and through the computer games and virtual realities we indulge in, so much of which will be subliminal, that which we are unconscious of, but unconscious and unaware of it as people might be, it still will be generating effects that reflect the nature of the ideas subconsciously implanted. When it comes to these simulated computer worlds through the games and the movies, billions the world over are emotionally attaching and agreeing with that which they are presented with. And when it comes to overall experience, the controllers wish the masses to effect into collective experience. They only have to then program in the themes into the subconscious through the entertainments that will ensure such will come to pass, through cause to effect, as the consciousness effects the simulation. They program the consciousness in a way then that produces a simulation that they desire. A more common term for this is predictive programming. But subconscious subliminals aside, consciously, billions the world over are wrapped and emotionally attached with their fantasy computer worlds and alternative gaming lives and situations. And again, what we focus on, we project as experience, on an individual level and on a collective basis. And there are all manner of computer game-like worlds that are forged and in effect now, through the focus on the computer games that the controllers have provided us. Again, the controllers know this. Nothing they do or provide us with is for anything other than control, and to keep us in creation, and it's very likely a scenario that great swathes of the gaming masses will be projecting into these created virtual reality-like simulated worlds in future lifetimes. For really, creation is a simulation anyway. There is no real difference between the games we play and the passing dream that is the one-dimensional, physical life levels of creation, other than the quality of the graphics. For we program, or have programmed through our agreements, ideas that are like data files, our created consciousness, like the disk that contains the computer game we have decided on. We then place our awareness in the personal self, and through the senses of it we perceive the effects, the computer game we have agreed to, like putting on a virtual reality headset. In a way then, when we play virtual reality games, We are placing our awareness in another created consciousness in a sense, another computer game, and we are perceiving it through then the apparatus of the virtual reality headset, just as we would perceive our own simulation through the mechanics of the body vehicle senses. With virtual reality games, we can take off the headset. With our own virtual reality simulation, we can do the same thing, and although we still will be experiencing a creation as long as we have a personal self, we can stand in our real awareness, in the isness of the true reality, aside from the simulated creations, the real awareness, that which is experiencing the simulation through the personal self. To move aside from the simulation of consciousness, we have but to stop utilizing the mechanics of the personal self, the mind, the emotions, and be in the nowness of our real being state, that which is, and aside from the effects of the personal self and creation. And yes, I have had real side experiences where I have seen a number of computer game-like worlds of similar themes to the computer games people play, of dragons and castles, of magic and monsters, and the beings that resided in such places were simply having lifetimes in creation, just as they would any other position in creation on the physical levels. These realities exist now, based on their projected creation through the focus and attention people have placed on the computer games that they play, and these may well be future lifetimes that they find themselves in consequently, as they experience the effects of their consciousness, and how they have decided as to its programming of ideas, and also, as in this movie and the monkeys, so much of the computer games are about death and killing, and as much as these games might seem entertaining on the surface, it's all going into the subconscious, and regardless of them just being games, that the themes are involving killing, there is agreement being made with this particular brand of ideas. And very likely then, we might envisage that those that do play very aggressive, destructive type games will be projecting into the effects that reflect these idea causes, just as readily as we would if actually performing such acts on the physical, as really it's all a simulation, it's all ideas, and the ideas we agree with, we will experience the effects that mirror their nature, and imagine then playing endless games of battles, of wars. What sort of world will you be projecting into with a focus on such themes? Probably a situation where you are immersed in battle on some war-torn planet somewhere. And of course, what these games of death and killing do maintain and secure agreement for also is the idea of constant reincarnation, For every time your character in your game is killed, you get to start the game again. A seemingly endless cycle of death and rebirth for your character, that it can constantly continue its thrill and sensation for killing and conflict. And that overall idea is going into the subconscious, which contributes to people's resignation to reincarnational cycles, where really to do such isn't necessary, but it is another program instilled in the consciousness, that the slaves have such very short lifetimes. This would make sense from the controller's perspective, as the shorter the slave lifespan, the less time they have to figure out what's going on and wake up to their controlled situation, and beyond that, perhaps start to become even more aware of the guides, of the ears, of how to extricate themselves from creation, the controller's worst nightmare. For look at the reptilians. They live for hundreds of thousands of years, and as the deciders of our experience, and that includes the longevity of our physical bodies, and as everything is simulation anyway, and any supposed ideas as to expiration dates on internal organs and such are also just decided agreements, there is no reason to transpire after such a relatively short lifespan, even to the extent that if we decided, and assuming we became conscious of any subconscious agreements that were to the contrary, we could live indefinitely as we so chose, or at least until the simulator imploded, if through agreement to a restriction this simulator implosion becomes so.
Yeah, there's this idea that the controllers have captured our imagination, the public's. Well, this takes it a step further, this virtual reality. We during the day we walk, we're doing our daily activities, and we're looking at our thoughts all the time. We have impressions, thoughts, feelings. I think when you're stuck in one of these virtual reality scenarios, realities, your thoughts after a while are being replaced by whoever is controlling this thing. So you have no anchor points anymore, basically. You're basically caught up in this. And it can actually create physiological and psychological effects to your body and mind, just like if you were in the physical, in these virtual reality positions. So it's very much a controlling factor here. To say there's some benefit to it, well, I don't know. It's just, there's so much that they can do that's of a control factor and manipulation, that why even go there? It's just and like Jobe said too, we've always had these abilities. One line he said, we've always had this. It's just bringing them up again. We can do all these telekinesis and mind control and all this. It's just he's accessing this, that we all have this ability, or potentially. So it's nothing new. Again, in the movie they make it appear that something out of the ordinary, but that's what they want people to keep being dumbed down to this basic mundane life. And this is just something out of the ordinary, but actually we can all have these abilities, but again, what use are they if we're not aware? And you can see that by what happened to him. He made some poor decisions and he got blown up. But, he could have done something other than what he did with his abilities. And we see that all over on these other movies too, these people that gain abilities and they have a choice between the white and the black path, the white path and the dark path. And of course they usually go dark, but let's open it up to Tim. You're here. Ronald, Pierce. Hi, everybody. You guys have a comment?
Actually, Kevin got me thinking a little bit here. You think maybe they're trying to not only control our lives, but maybe extend it into our afterlife and then have us come back already controlled when we reincarnate? What do you think about that idea?
Well, the consciousness is maintained even when you transition. When you transition, whatever your awareness is exactly the same as it was when you were on the physical. And so if whatever you've decided and agreed to, that will be maintained, and you're also projecting into future lifetimes, which will also be an extension of that consciousness you had in your current lifetime. And so the control does extend between lifetimes, and you're walking into pretty much the same control situation as you were before, except now it's probably even more compounded. So as you go through your lifetimes, you add more and more ideas and agreements, and the controllers put forth more marketed ploy ideas you would then agree with, and so it compounds and restricts even further. So transition doesn't mean you escape from the reptilians' simulated matrix. You're still very much in it, even as you transition. And so the only way to step aside from the consciousness and the way the controllers have manipulated the consciousness of this simulation is through your real awareness, which is your real self, which is the reality, which is aside from the consciousness and any possibility of manipulation.
We need to get rid of these people.
Displace them.
We got to do something to stop this baloney.
Well, we're just here to share. We're not here to change the world or anything. Just sharing, Everybody has a choice, free will. And the bad guys are teaching us what not to do. I was at a party the other day, and this guy, I started talking about other dimensions and stuff, and he's, no, come on, none of that stuff about heaven and all that. When I die, I'm going in the ground. That's where I'll be. And then he just walked away, and I kind of felt sad for him because that's where he's going to end up. If that's what he sees, he's just going to be in the ground until he figures it out that he can move around and do other things once he loses his physical body. But he was bright enough. I think he'll figure it out. But for a while, he'll probably just be in the ground, like he said, because that's what he wanted. That's what he wants. That's what he sees for himself. No, I'm just going to be, dust again. So,
my brother-in-law had that same idea. And then when he died, he came in a dream, and I saw him. So I know he went over to the other side, and he was probably very, very surprised when he popped out of his body.
Did he communicate with you at all? Did you say
no, it was just the way he showed up. He showed up like whole body. And then when he left, he went from the top or from the bottom, disappeared to his head. I guess it was to make sure that I remember.
Okay. Sounds like he was making some adjustments there.
Yeah, I don't know what he was. I think he was just, just the way he disappeared. But it proved to me that even he was very likely surprised when he popped out. It was a good surprise.
Yeah, the surprise factor is like you didn't go anywhere. You're still, who and what you think you are or how you see yourself. You're just in a different position.
Yeah, well, he thought he was, in the grave, and that's it.
Uh-huh. Thanks for sharing, Ronald.
It kind of reminds me of the masses, pretty much like the the fellow that went through the transformation into something different than what he was.
You mean Job?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, if the opportunity was there to experiment with things that I don't know if you want to call it mind altering or life altering or whatever, that people would probably like the ability to have a whole bunch of these psychic powers.
well, we do, but again, what are you gonna? So what? We see it as awareness supersedes everything, and that's where the adventure lies. And these other things are just like little discursions. Go ahead, Pierce, if you have anything.
Yeah, I think it's well relevant for now, the Lawnmower Man. For now, the time frame and that. Obviously, it was made, what was it, late 80s, early 90s, but like for now, it's spot on because that's the way it's going to go. Straight into the Machine Kingdom, singularity, everyone up to the cloud, everyone. But instead of that, obviously, they're not showing you the control aspect through the film. They're just giving you like a view. But for Jobe and that, I mean, Jobe was like a god when he was in there, wasn't he? He took like total control, he like bossed it. And what's to stop that happening? What's to stop something like that happening even now, But I don't know with the computers you got nowadays. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? The AI, and Japan's just released the fastest one out there, I think. I was reading about it the other day, but yeah, it's very relevant for now. But it didn't get into it. All it was just like, the computer, the computer matrix world. It wasn't really a physical. Obviously, they had a story to go with it, the physical story and all about Jobe and the boy and all that, and he was gardening and the doctor. But yeah, I think it's well relevant for now, especially now. The singularity and all that around the corner. I mean, that's what we want, innit? We want everyone linked up. We want everyone connected to the cloud, so they can download everything and blockchain. Yeah, and I mean, I was thinking the other day about just about this, about how they're going to blockchain everyone through this vaccine and that. And I was thinking, well, your DNA is silica. Your DNA is it's silica, isn't it? And that's like the best receiver, transmitter of information, whatever. So they could basically download your old ancestry. You know what I mean? From when you've been here, and they could probably play it in real time and broadcast it. You know what I mean? That's how far the technology's gone. The magic, that's what they got. That's what kind of control you got. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it all. I don't think none of it's good news. The singularity on all of that Machine Kingdom. Stay real. That's what it's all about. Getting in your awareness and using it and staying real. Yeah, that's what I'm share. Thanks, Val.
Thanks, Pierce. It's interesting.
I just wanted to say briefly that I saw quite an alarming virtual reality computer game that they're now putting out there in the public domain, and they have literally mapped the entire planet, every single city, every street, every continent in finer detail, even down to the buildings and the rivers and the lakes. And this is actually a computer game that people can hook into and play. So they literally have recreated the entire simulation of the Earth in a computer game. So it shows they definitely have the ability to do that. And so imagine then being born into that simulated world, which would be a simulation of the simulation we're already in. And how would you know the difference? How would you know you were even in a simulation that was in a simulation?
Well, exactly, Kevin. I mean, I was reading last year. It was the beginning of last year I read it, and some Irish scientist, this lady, and she says them VR headsets, them virtual reality headsets that you put on. I mean, I've never used one, but she says when you put one on, within like 2 minutes, it smacked your brain. So that like gave me, it kind of like backed me away from it a bit. I thought, oh, I don't want none of that. But yeah, she was. I mean, she's got so many letters after her name. I don't know, but she's bachelor's degrees and all that, and she's like top scientist. And she says, yeah, them 3D, them virtual headsets, they map your brain. I don't know how, but they do. So don't use them. They're not good. So yeah, it's all geared up. I mean, it's all geared up for that, isn't it? For getting us in there and doing what they're going to do.
Yeah, and you introduced the movement too, these contraptions that they were on. I mean, the movement along with the visual, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's just incredible. I've never really done hardly any of that, but I can see how it could be impacting on the personal self. And it'd be hard for the real awareness to counter that, because you just get trapped in this thing. Simulator within a simulator within a simulator, just like we did the dreams with Leonardo DiCaprio, dream within a dream. So that's why we're here, just to give people another perspective here, another view, and then there's a cure, there's an alternative that they can wake up to what's really going on around here. Thank you, Kevin. Go on.
Yeah, I wrote about that once in one of my radio shows a while back. I called it the creation of another hypothetical life level. If you're considering the physical level to be at the moment the densest level, and then you have another virtual reality within that, I mean, hypothetically, you'd be talking about another life level, wouldn't you? So you could end up with life levels, continuous life levels that could go on forever, really, could you? Anyway.
Yes.
I think you're right, because I think we're easier to rig our lives, and I think they've caught on to it. Virtual reality, that's what we live in now. Yeah, they've hijacked our brains and they hijacked everything we've done. There's no end to it.
And if you consider this, I mean, at the moment we have a physical body that we can then put aside, and we can go onto the real side and have what most would call dream experiences. But what if they did put you into a metallic robotic body that doesn't actually shut down at all, and then place you in a virtual reality within that? I mean, theoretically, then you could be even in a position where you're unable to access the real side because you're permanently in a body vehicle that doesn't get shut down, in order that you can move your awareness beyond the consciousness of it. So they could even deny people the ability to go onto the real side, in theory.
Maybe that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and like Dwayne says, if you thought of it, they've already thought of it first, and they're doing it.
Interesting was again the mention of the term the shop as being that entity which seems to have control of the virtual reality lab in this movie. That there is, of course, a pyramid-tiered system of control, there can be no doubt. With everything, every created reptilian system of control ultimately answering to the tip of the pyramid, that which orchestrates everything. In creation, the tip of the pyramid would be the Calorm God, the reptilian overlord of the fourth life level, the mental level, he which all reptilians and all reptilian controlling systems answer to, and who in fact represents not only the devil but God, as he plays both sides in the duality of creation. And he is the God of every reptilian created religion also. So the shop would be a level of the control system, probably outside of human awareness generally. But as I said, that term for this control tier, the shop, has been used before in other movies. So I suggest this is probably actual terminology the dark forces employ on the physical, on the earth. It's quite telling how also one of the reptilian priests in the movie, the Christian religious individual who is supposedly a man of the cloth, a so-called good person, etc., etc., is a very brutish character, infused with aggressive attitudes, made quite apparent as he administers a whipping to Job. And here we then see a clear-cut example of how agreement is secured to the control systems, and especially religion, which has been one of the major systems the reptilians have created that garners agreement and ensures restriction and perpetuated incarnation of lifetimes under the controller's boot for all who do agree with the controlling ideas they create. The tactic of intimidation, torture, and death to ensure agreement, and all such experience stays with the subconscious and moulds then the consciousness into acquiescence to the controllers through the fear of repercussion for insurrection, a fear that infuses the subconsciously stored experience, that even though in future lifetimes the individual may no longer be conscious of such past life traumas suffered at the hands of the controllers, their behaviour will have been moulded, and continuously so, that they become ever more so the submissive and agreeable slave lifetime after lifetime. By contrast to the brutal, controlling priest, we have Job, an individual who is cognitively impaired, and he would very much come across as having the sort of innocence, sincerity, and purity of a child. Naturally so, as just like children before indoctrination, Job would have been incapable of being literalized, of being one-dimensionalized, and programmed and absorbed into the social consciousness. Most would consider this a disadvantageous position in life, but really, just as a child, absent of literalization, he then would be more in connection with and able to explore the full extent of the personal self and creation, not just locked into the consciousness of mind and emotion. For such individuals, those who are autistic, with Asperger's, etc., are very much able to move their awareness more freely, as they haven't been encapsulated in the literal, surface, one-dimensional world of ideas, and like children, they are more likely to retain far better their connection to the real awareness that animates their created personal self. So actually, in a way, if such an individual as Job decided to become more aware and recognize the ears, I imagine he would positively excel with the process, as he wouldn't have the overburdening literal mind presenting as the major obstacle that it tends to be with most adults. For the more intellectual and literal that people are, the harder it is for them to see through the personal literal self to the unseen parts of their personal self, and to recognize the real awareness that they are. Although we do need to be grounded in creation also, we need the comparison that creation provides, We need feet in both realities, really. The real awareness, the personal side, and to compare the two until such time as we recognize the is and require the personal self no longer. So for those individuals whose awareness is barely in the personal self, if they have cognitive personal self dysfunction, the process of awareness may prove difficult, but certainly not impossible.
I like what you said about the innocence of Job, and I see it as an evolution of his consciousness and even his personal awareness, how he moved from the innocence and simplicity to all powerful in terms of his position with relation to others. But again, he didn't recognize what was going on. His awareness was with the personal self and the physical. So he was moving along those lines. But yeah, he could have excelled as if he had enlisted in the or enrolled in the new Nations United Universal University. I mean, he could have used his skills as a mechanic to start off with lawnmowers to flying cars to spaceships. I mean, he could have done a lot to contribute if he gotten to the right people. But these people, the controllers, are all over the place. So they're watching. That's what MK Ultra is about. They're watching the gifted kids to come along and they'll snatch them up and utilize their abilities. And that's just going on for a long time here.
It sounds like continuous control.
Yeah.
You control the smart ones. You keep the control going.
Yeah, and the dumb ones, leave them alone. They're just be dumb. Follow, be
Or
the
you
sheep.
can't do nothing about that.
You think that all ends robotization at the end of the Yuga? It sounds like that all they can control too, and then they're gone. So in about 1 billion more years, it starts all over again. Who knows what that experience will be for everybody that's still in the psych realms.
Yeah, it depends on the consciousness of the people, what they decide to create for themselves. Right now, we're not doing well as a whole because everybody's not deciding for the benefit of their survival. They're deciding for the benefit of the controllers and to get rid of themselves by their agreements. So it's tough here.
Well, as long as you can control the information that's getting out there, you can control the world. Hitler found that out.
Yeah, didn't you, Kevin, have experience recently where everything went down, the power grid? When it came back on, it was only the information they wanted to have on the internet, etc., and everything else was gone.
I haven't had an experience of that nature recently.
Somebody did. I thought I heard something like that.
Might be thinking about somebody else.
Yeah, they had a planned power grid outage in July, I think, or something, and then things come back on. Everything was wiped out, the good stuff, and just what was left was what they wanted you to.
Well, we were discussing that on the last show, the new education show. So maybe that's where you got that from.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, what you're referring to, those global blackouts. It's they're running simulations for it in July, and I think the program is called Cyber Polygon, I think. And generally, as is the controller's modus operandi, they tend to run simulations of that, which they are then going to bring into human experience. And so it's predicted that these global blackouts will take place probably late autumn, early winter of this year, and they'll shut down all the power. And when it comes back online, you'll find probably all the internet and technology is rather purged of a lot of the information it previously contained. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of channels, Jane Wigington, etc., who knows even our stuff, and the rest of it, anything that would be, detrimental to the controllers maintaining of their control system through the awareness people can get from such sites and information. I wouldn't be surprised they purge the whole lot when we come back online. It's a very different system, but we will see. Larry was certainly absorbed into his virtual reality projects to the extent that he was somewhat disregarding his partner Caroline. This does seem to be a theme being embraced by the consciousness overall, as it is marketed so successfully by the controllers, that of the acceptance, embracing, and agreement with technology, to the extent that technology is becoming more agreeable than the natural environment with that which makes sense, a preference for dependence on technology for survival, and at the expense of the natural environment, rather than being in balance and in equilibrium with the all-natural environment that supports us through all life levels, that the consciousness is gradually being programmed into an agreement with a world becoming ever more mechanized. The options for Larry in regards to what he decides to be the effects of would seem to consist of emotional attachment to his partner or emotional attachment to his technology. People would assume the emotional attachment to his partner more natural, but with Larry deciding along technological agreement lines, he would be adding to a consciousness that is being shaped to bring in a far more mechanical world, and one through which greater control can be claimed by the dark forces through the technology. But emotional attachment, agreement to the ideas that the personal self of another represents, will bind you to creation as readily as any other idea agreement. Ideally, absence of emotional attachment to an idea that is the body form would be preferable, with awareness of how it is the real awareness that animates the body of vehicles, and as this real awareness is this isness and is everything, then this recognition would make such attachment unnecessary, and we can then be at liberty to interact and engage with embodied awareness in creation without embroiling ourselves in the effects of the attachment tap lines we decide and bind ourselves to others through. Attachment tap lines are just created ideas that we can't let go of, that we cling to. If we reach a stage where we can let every idea go, if we are attached to nothing that is created, including the body forms of others, then we are no longer creationally cause and effect bound. Of course, we still need to address, become conscious of, and recognize and release all subconscious tap lines, and that's a process that takes a few moments, but we can at least ensure we are not consciously clinging on to any idea. We are the product of our environment. What we have decided has projected us into the circumstances, life position, and body type we currently have, including then would be the faculties of the particular species of a body vehicle our decisions have resulted in. The body types of each species vary according to the consciousness of that species as to how the body vehicles have been developed. As such, you can have certain aliens with remarkable abilities of telepathy, mental capability, etc. When it comes to great intelligence, the ability to store and recall information more effectively, it would be that the mind, which is really just a computer for storing information, would be a more powerful computer effectively. When it comes to a creational manipulating ability, this would involve the accessing of the etheric vehicle, generally accessed by those who have effectively conquered the mind and emotions, a natural process as we go through a creation, that as we become more aware of all aspects of the self, so we can utilize these faculties of the created self, though still cause and effect generating they will be, despite how appealing the use of creational and manipulating abilities might seem. Technology could certainly allow for the accessing of the etheric vehicle, if it is the mind and emotions that really have to be placed aside to do so. Conceivable then that virtual reality could be a means by which this can be achieved. Although it seems, if individuals acquire these abilities too quickly in their process through creation, if they do lack awareness, they also will lack the recognition to appreciate how we are all the same awareness, and how we can mire ourselves in cause and effect through any imposition or power we utilize in creation. And as one comes to recognize the real awareness that we all are, it would become increasingly nonsensical to bestow harm on others, for surely, from that expansive view, we are the same awareness, so would be harming ourselves realistically, or rather just the idea of the body vehicle that houses this all awareness. With the reptilians, we can see how a lack of awareness, coupled with the development of the species consciousness in such a way that they became the intelligent species that they are, resulted in an abuse of that intelligence, as the less aware an individual or species are, the more they seek only to cater to the personal self, which is inclined toward thrill-seeking and sensation-satiating, which through a boredom of creation can express as the want to dominate other species, as the reptilians have done. We see then the transition of Jobe from the innocent, pure consciousness, very much that of a child's, to more a consciousness and attitude resembling the reptilians, as he accesses his ethereal, creational, manipulating abilities through artificial means, and is not aware enough, or responsible enough, to do so in a way that makes sense with life and awareness, and even to the extent that he is able to manipulate the simulation of others, to change the consciousness of those he attacks, that their effected simulation becomes somewhat nightmarish for them. Agreements must be in place that he can feature in the experience of those he attacks so adversely, and for those who have bullied and attacked Jobe prior to his transformation, then it seems the abrasive effects that mirror the nature of the causes the individuals set in motion would be balanced out in swift order.
Did you see the movie, Pierce?
Yeah, I've seen it, but it was a long time ago. Yeah, well, he's in the like that's what it is, isn't it? He's in it. He's in the machine, and he's got control. As for the reptilians, what they're showing, well, they're showing just the program, what it is. It's all programming, isn't it? All the TV, all the movies. It's all put it out there, get it in your head, get it in the consciousness, and get the agreement. That's what it is. That's the way I see it. And they started, they've been on it for years, and they'll continue until they don't. But yeah, that's the way I see it. That's answering Tim. Yeah, for the reptilians, get it out there, because there's nothing else out there like that when that movie came out. So yeah, that's what they do, don't they? They put it out there to plant it in your subconscious. So it's there, isn't it? But it is there now. It's around the corner, isn't it? It's literally around the corner. So see what happens. But yeah, it's a great movie anyway. Great movie. Thanks, Val.
Thanks, Pierce. Yeah, I think they're trying to seduce you into think, one part they're showing you the benefits of it, the thrills, and the other part they're showing you, they're also showing what happens if you go that route. But most people don't really take it as anything real. It's entertainment, basically, but still, it's like you say, Pierce, it's in their subconscious, it's in even their conscious. They're taking it as something seductive. Yeah, what if I had these powers? Could burn my neighbor up if he steals my newspaper or something. So it's these guys spend a lot of time on these movies. I mean, it's like a whole, figuring out every little detail. I mean, his name, Angelo, Angel, Job's troubles in the Bible and what he's going through. There's just so much, the shop. There's so many little things. I didn't really look at that in this movie, all the little things, or the little things in the background and the set, subliminals. But
yeah,
they're all over.
It's crazy deep if you notice it. If you look for it, you'll see it. It's crazy deep. It's in all the stuff they do. Crazy. Well, that's how they get it out there, isn't it? That's what they do. That's how they get the agreement. I mean, you got all these young ones nowadays, and they're all gamers. I mean, I'm not really a gamer, but most kids and blokes my age even. I mean, I'm 49 and older. Gamers, strong into the gaming, and so they've got the agreement. So see how far they go with it, and like the way things are going, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for the masters anyway. But yeah. But they tell you everything. They put it all out there, don't they? It's all out there, and it's like, yeah, it's them that's aware. We'll see it. Them that don't, it's like, well, what? I don't believe that. It's like I can't remember who said it. Raymond or Tim said it, when he dies, he's going to go in the ground. That's a lot of consciousness out there. People are like that. It's like they don't want to know. Crazy. I can't understand it. But as for Hollywood and movies and the books, it's all in there. They've been doing it forever, haven't they? That's what they do. It's like a part of the consciousness. It's like, it's everything in it. It's the indoctrination. It's what's it called? The way to do it, society and all that. What animal society and all that. It's in everything. It's in the literature. It's in the movies. It's in the TV programming. It's total mind control. I don't know, is it like we'll be facing it? For them that's aware, I suppose it is, isn't it? For like us, it is. It's like, yeah, we're going to see your face. And there's nothing you can do about it. That's basically what it's telling us. But we can, with your awareness, you can get around everything. So more people need to become aware and become aware of the awareness. Yeah. But yeah, Val, it's out there and it's in everything. And it's great, yeah, what you do in the movies and breaking them all and that, breaking them all down, showing them, especially these ones, because they're good. They're good examples. I mean, Ready Player One, that's the latest one I've seen. And that Alita, Battle Angel, that's what it's all about. They want, I think that's the society they're looking to build. Yeah, and Hunger Games and all that. I think that's really what they want. And it's out there. It's just people, they're not wake up to it. You think it's, I don't know. But I see it, you see it, all these lots see it. I don't know what's up with the masses. I think they must be under some mad mind control. Because it's in everything, isn't it? It's out there.
Yeah.
And all the subliminals. And like people are that far gone, went through the environment, through all this shit they got like consume, because it's in everything. It's in everything. It's in the food, it's in the water, it's in the air, the toxins and all that shit, the fluoride. So I think it's really had an effect, or people are just scared. I don't know. What they're scared of, nothing to be scared of, is there?
Any last words, Tim or Ronald?
Well, the technology and stuff, abilities that they have for destroying the environment and all the different ways they seem to be making the effort to do. If they started to get their fear about being in the phantom zone, if they become aware that that's real, that makes sense to them, maybe they'll decide to use all the technology to make everybody aware of how to work in harmony with the environment. But that would almost be, I guess, a etherical miracle or something for them to ever, oh, well, maybe it's just needed lessons that they have to do what they do, and so that we get through our 300 millionth lifetime of becoming more aware.
Well, if they do turn around, or we somehow are able to access some of these technologies, I mean, it's all there. I mean, they set it up, they set everything up. So it's the communication, the networks, everything's there. It's just using it for something to helps people become more aware, rather than other effects, other things that they do that's of harm. It's there, they've created it. So just like they're using us, we can use what they've created too. We just got to be mindful, creative about it ourselves. Okay, we're just
They've
about
given us a lot of comparison, all right, or
Yeah.
we have agreed to
yeah.
have the comparisons.
Yeah. Kevin, any last words?
Only that everybody is part of the consciousness that has agreed to the situation we now are in. And so now we have to rather deal with the effects, and that's what it's all about. So, just for that, really.
And here we are, we're doing what we can. So, yeah. Well, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everybody, for being here, contributing to Reel to Reel Wake Up. We will do the new you. New you. Kevin?
You.
Tim?
New you.
Ronald?
New you.
Pierce?
Do you.
Thanks, everybody.